Now, that secret world, I mean, how do you get in there? Because most people guard it with their lives and, like, almost quite literally only let one or two people in there their whole life.
Yeah, and so the way you get in is by understanding first that most people actually don't guard it. For many people, it's not that they're taking active precautions to prevent people from going in. For most people, it's the fact that nobody's interested.
Right, no one ever looked, but it's in plain sight. And especially if you're trained to see it, you could see it pretty quickly.
Correct.
Even by observing them.
Correct.
A couple questions.
Yeah, a couple questions, simple observation, and then of course also understanding that everybody's conditioned differently. Conditioning is how you're raised. Everybody's brain is trained. That's the term, is conditioned. It's conditioned by their culture, their religion, their education, their parents. Everybody's conditioned. To get to someone's most darkest secrets in their secret life, you have to first learn how they've been conditioned and accept how they've been conditioned. But essentially what happens is we're all living our lives like we're the most important person. We're the center of the show. We're the center of the universe. We're all that matters. And when you take two people who both believe that they're the most important thing in the world and you put them in the room together, they're competing for attention. They're not giving each other attention. They're competing for attention. I cook a really good steak. Oh, well, I cook a better steak. Or I was taught to make steaks by my dad. I was taught to make steaks by a gourmet chef. Everybody's competing for attention. That's what social media is. When you flip the script and you're the person in the room who's not competing for attention, you're giving attention freely to the other person, what ends up happening is they reveal things. They talk outside of school. They give too much information. They compromise themselves just because their defensive technique, they know how to fight against someone who's not giving them attention. They don't really know how to defend against someone who is giving them attention, right? And then that's how you very quickly you cut through someone's public life and get into their private life just because you're giving them attention. And then you just kind of keep on pouring on the attention. You start asking leading questions. You start using like authentic vulnerabilities of your own.
Yeah.
And they'll bring you into their own.
They'll mirror your vulnerabilities. When you give them something from you, they'll tell you something from them.
Yep.
Perhaps.
But funny thing about vulnerabilities are they don't have to be true, right? You can say stuff like, my marriage has been really rough, and sometimes I really just think about whether I should just cheat on my wife just to try it just once. And if they're already cheating in their private life, that's the kind of person that's like, oh man, I totally know what you're talking about. And then boom, let me bring you into my private life.
Right. And if it's someone really guarded, maybe they don't react the way that they would if they weren't. And then something's there. So you can try a few of these, and even if they don't go right away, depending on if they don't overreact or react the same way, then you're like, okay, there's something there. I'll come back to that.
And what's interesting is once you're in someone's private life, trying to break into secret life, they also, without training, like what I'm giving you right now is what we at CIA would call this, you are now trained. You're trained in this technique. So now whenever you and I talk about this technique, we're talking as peers, right? This is a technique and we're talking about it, so we're trained. Untrained people, they don't have the vocabulary, they don't understand the science of it, but they may still feel intrinsically like it's true. So intrinsically, when you're in a private relationship with somebody, you already anticipate that they're going to share vulnerabilities with you, and that some of those vulnerabilities are going to make you feel uncomfortable, and some of those vulnerabilities are going to be things that you can relate to. So what ends up happening is as you're probing to get into their secret life, they just feel like you're that much more invested in the private relationship that you have. So you're exactly right. You can keep probing, you can keep testing, you can keep exploring until you hit the right nerve to get in. You won't have to explore very much because what's really happening is you're always pouring the attention onto them. So they walk you right there. It's the same technique that you can use. We're talking about it in human espionage terms. Just think about how this applies to the average middle manager, right? The average middle manager who isn't important enough to own the business, gets ignored by the boss, wonders whether or not he's going to get the promotion to vice president or director. He's got all sorts of concerns and stress in his life. But every employee that works for him is oblivious to it, and they don't care. If anything, they probably think that the manager's life is easy. So the one employee who comes in and shows the manager attention and accepts and kind of shares with the manager what the manager already knows is hard about their life, that manager now prefers that employee over all other employees, just because they understand the private life of that manager. What can't you ask that person to do? Ask them for a choice assignment, ask them for a choice project, ask them for a promotion, ask them for a good review at the end of the year. You can ask them for anything. And the probabilities of them saying yes are much higher.
How long does it take you to get into someone's secret life from meeting them?
It depends on the person, but I would say if you're dealing with an average bell curve person, right? Normal cognitive ability, normal education, normal life, normal existence, right? You could probably get into their secret life, I would say within about 30 hours of contact, 30 hours of personal contact.
30 hours, okay.
So whether that means you go on a road trip with them or whether that means you have dinner once a week for 30 weeks, I would say it takes just a little bit longer than a day in terms of total time on target.
And it really is logging time. That's the metric that's consistent. Like you said, road trip, it's just longer, adding up. It has to be continuous? Not necessarily.
Not necessarily, because it's really, what's interesting about people is people don't change quickly. People largely stay pretty consistent. It's why if you've ever had a friend that you haven't seen in 5 years, and then you see them and you're caught up in like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
They're pretty much still the same person, a little gray or a little extra wrinkles, but they're the same person, right? We don't change, we don't evolve very quickly. So because of that, we can use that to our advantage when you're trying to build access to that secret life.
Because they don't change much, which means, when you start going in and digging in and you come back a week later, they haven't changed enough to where you have to rework it.
Right. If they care about their daughter when their daughter's 2,
right,
guess what they're going to do when their daughter's 7?
Okay.
Still care about their daughter.
Is this the bulk of the work you do, or you did as an operative?
Yeah. As a field officer, collecting intelligence in the field, the vast majority of what you do is you cultivate relationships to get high impact secrets. Sometimes you're cultivating relationships from a total stranger, right? So you meet them for the first time and then you have to log those 30, 60, 90 hours, whatever it might be based on the culture, because cultures are all different. You log the hours, you build the trust, and then you start exploring what secrets they're willing to share now versus what secrets they may not share until you've had another 60, 90, 120 hours of time on target before they'll actually share. So that's called a full life cycle development or a full life cycle recruitment. You go from they're a normal person all the way to they're a faithful, reliable source of secrets. All you have to do is ask. It's a full life cycle recruitment.
And they know who you are? Or
Sometimes.
Sometimes
you need to tell them because that makes them feel special or confident. It's another form of letting them into your secret life.
Okay. By the way, I was sent here to do this. Is that what you say? By the way, I'm this guy.
Sometimes you say exactly that phrase.
Right.
Hey, you suspect that I'm intelligence, and you're right.
And I'm here to help you, and we can still be friends, and we can still have a symbiotic relationship because you know what they want now, and it sticks together.
Correct.
And sometimes it goes wrong, I guess.
And sometimes it goes wrong. It rarely goes wrong, because there's a natural human tendency to rationalize the choices that we make. So oftentimes, even if somebody gets to the point where you come out and you tell them, hey, I'm CIA and I can get your information into the most important hands in the world, and we can make your family stronger and more resilient because of it. Even if they know it's the wrong thing to do, they're thinking in their mind, frontal cortex, rational mind, they're thinking, I suspected this, I kept meeting with this person, I kept doing this thing, I've already given him secrets, I've let him pay for how many dinners, he's taken me to the Bahamas and back, I'm already in too deep, so let's keep going, right? And if anything, now they're like, can we keep it secret? Like, you're not gonna tell anybody, you're not gonna, right? And you're like, oh no, we're gonna meet in secret, we're gonna have secret communications channels, we're gonna do secret this, secret this, secret this, and that actually makes them feel comfortable.
Okay.
Now all of a sudden you're like, we're going to be super secret. No one's even going to know. And that comforts them.
That they won't get found out. Okay. Hey, do you want to profit from crypto? Then join my DeFi Academy. The Crypto DeFi Academy will help you create generational wealth. But don't take my word for it. Listen to my students.
When I first got into crypto, I remember thinking to myself, I need to learn more. Brian Rose, learning crypto, learning DeFi, got to do it.
I am so grateful that I jumped in and did this. I had to break through some limiting beliefs that I can do this, that I can afford this, that I can be in this.
It challenges the things that are deeply rooted within us.
Joining DeFi Academy has been one of the best decisions I have made on my blockchain journey.
This course was a life changer, a game changer, a huge eye-opener, coming from knowing practically nothing at the speed of the learning over 4 weeks was just fantastic.
The information you provided in this class was invaluable.
I feel far more confident in my next steps.
You took complex concepts and made them easier to understand.
What's different than so many other ones is it just doesn't tell you what to do. It actually makes you do it.
This is for people who are serious about becoming traders. This is the way it should be done.
I realized from this learning experience again that it is not about what you learn, but about who you learn it from.
The energy was insane. I've never experienced such incredible energy on a live call. Brian Rose, you are a legend, my friend.
It's the only thing in the market where you can get all information and learn everything what you need to know.
Everything is so clear and so well done, and I'm just forever grateful for this program.
It made me feel so much more confident about crypto than I did before.
I did not anticipate how passionate I was going to become about it.
It's also been like a big learning experience for me, not just in the crypto space, but just in overall balance of life.
What I've learned is, how to take ownership, of my life in a way that I really hadn't before.
Yeah, you can't put a price on that, really.
I would recommend it to anybody, top notch.
Excellence does not come cheap. So if you want excellence, you gotta pay for it, but it's so worth it.
Pull the trigger. That's what this course is about.
You're not going to regret it, really. It's amazing.
Thank you, Brian and team.
So what are you waiting for? Crypto is happening now. Click the link below, submit your application, and let me mentor you on how to create generational wealth and build the decentralized financial infrastructure of the future.